Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory, the old world video. In today's episode, we shall be casting our ever critical eye over another old world unit. This time, my favorite war machine in the entire game. An absolute death machine, and one which is causing a bit of a stir in the competitive old world meta right now. Better than the Dwarven Organ Gun, and far sexier to boot. I'm of course talking about the infamous Helblaster Volley Gun. And so without further ado, let's deep dive right into today's video. Attention guardsmen, my ever salty partner in crime, Admiral Simon, has got an important announcement for you.
This September and October, I am doing a charity walk along the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. We'll be raising money for two fantastic charities, our local hospice, Halton Haven, and also the Pink Ribbon Foundation that raises funds to combat breast cancer. As I hate camping, walking, and will be shitting in a bucket for 4 days, I will be particularly salty and would value any support you can give us. Please click the link below for our Just Giving page. Thank you very much.
You heard the man, it's for a good cause, and you all know Simon from the battle reports. That's all for now. Move out, conscripts. As is tradition, let us begin with an overview of this unit, getting into its stats and abilities. The Helblaster is a war machine, and as a result, it has two stat lines, one for the gun itself and one for the gun crew. Now, the gun only has 2 bits of information on its stat line. It is toughness 6 and it has 3 wounds. These stats are used for when you are shooting at the Helblaster Volley Gun, so it doesn't have an armor save or anything like that, but its natural toughness does tend to mean that when someone tries to shoot it with bows or even crossbows, they're going to be wounding it on 6s. Combine this natural toughness with 3 wounds, and you have a war machine which is pretty durable, but you don't want to be frontlining this thing, as even a volley of short bows, if they get lucky, could knock it out. For the rest of the Helblaster Volley Gun stats, we need to go to the gun crew. These are humans. They're basically your standard Empire stat line. We have got a movement of 4, weapon skill of 3, ballistic skill of 3, strength of 3, toughness 3, 3 wounds because there are 3 crew members, and you have initiative of 3, attacks of 3, and a leadership of 7. You might be curious as to when we use the toughness and wounds of the Helblaster Volley Gun or the toughness and the wounds of the gun crew. It generally comes down to when being shot at, you use the Helblaster Volley Gun. When you are in combat, you use the toughness and the wounds of the gun crew. So this thing is much easier to kill if you can get into combat with it. And that's because you only need to either take out the wounds from the gun or the wounds from the gun crew. So you don't need to wipe out both in order to destroy this unit. As for the rest of the Helblaster Volley Gun stats, it is 120 points, which is a bargain. That makes it 5 points cheaper than a Great Cannon, which is amazing. It has the troop type war machine. Its base size is 50 by 75 millimeter, and that's for the war machine itself. And the crew are on 25 by 25s. Unit size is 1, so you can't take multiple Helblasters in one entry. And the equipment is Helblaster Volley Gun and hand weapons, and it does have the Skirmisher's special rule. Now, before you get all excited and think that this means the Helblaster is -1 to hit when you shoot it, which most skirmishers are, you only get that if you are an infantry skirmisher. As this is a war machine, you won't benefit from it. Being a skirmisher does give it a whole bunch of other benefits, but it's not going to help you for trying to be a bit tougher with. But then we get to the real deal, the real reason why you're all here, and that is the stats of the volley gun itself, the amount of damage that it puts out. For all intents and purposes, the Helblaster Volley Gun is a modified organ gun. So it has a 24-inch range, strength 5, AP -1, it has armor bane 2, it's cumbersome, Helblaster, and move or shoot. And this weapon uses the black powder misfire table. Now, in comparison to a regular organ gun, the Helblaster does have a significantly shorter range. The dwarf organ gun has 30 inches and the Helblaster only has 24. Now, this is really important because if you go first, and considering that pretty much all no man's lands are 24 inches apart, you do have some shorter ones like with meeting engagement, but it means that in the vast majority of missions, if you go first, your Helblaster won't be in range. Whereas if you have a dwarven organ gun, if you go first, you will be in range. So what is the advantage of the Helblaster? Well, you trade 6 inches of range for a lot more potential destructive. And this is because when shooting a Helblaster volley gun, you roll 3 artillery dice before making any to hit rolls. And the number of shots fired is equal to the total of all 3 artillery dice. This means that the Helblaster has the potential to put out 30 shots. In comparison, an organ gun, it does the same thing where you roll a number of artillery dice and you add the number together to get the number of shots, but it only rolls 2. So you have less range, but you have a lot more shots. Some of you might be wondering, but 3 artillery dice, what happens when I misfire? Well, if you roll 1 misfire out of the 3 dice, then the Helblaster has a -1 to hit modifier applied to it. This can be kind of devastating if you are shooting at long range and then you roll 1 misfire because suddenly your artillery is only hitting on 6s, which isn't great. If you roll 2 misfires, then you do have to roll on the normal black powder misfire table. That's a bit risky because you might roll a 1 and it could blow up. If you roll 3 misfires, then it's kind of cool. If a misfire is rolled on all 3 of the artillery dice, all of the barrels fire simultaneously with devastating effect. The Helblaster volley gun fires 30 shots, but is destroyed and immediately removed from play. All shots fired from the Helblaster volley gun this turn suffer an additional -1 to hit modifier. So if you roll 3 misfires, basically all the barrels unload at once, and you could do a huge amount of damage and the gun just explodes. Now, of course, in an ideal scenario, the Helblaster wouldn't roll any misfires, but we don't live in an ideal scenario, and we've all been there when we've run a Helblaster with no support and the thing has ended up blowing itself up either on the regular black powder misfire table, or we've just been really unlucky and rolled triple misfire. It just happens. I mean, how many times have we rolled snake eyes or 111 on 2+ armor saves in our time? It always happens, right? So when it comes to using the Helblaster on its own, looking at it just in a vacuum, it is a powerful weapon, but it's a little limited by that ballistic skill of 3+, and it can end up hitting on 6s fairly often if it even just rolls 1 misfire. And if you roll that 1 misfire, then it really can cut into the volume of shots that you are putting out. So how do we make the Helblaster go from being decent yet unreliable to phenomenal and reliable? Well, enter left of stage, quite possibly the best Empire character in the goddamn book, the Engineer. That's right, it's a double doozy review. We're looking at Helblasters and Engineers in the same video. Now, Engineers on the surface have a pretty mid stat line. It's like a human, but with an extra wound and an extra ballistic skill. 4, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 4, strength 3, toughness 3, 2 wounds, initiative 3, 1 attack, leadership 7, and he costs 45 points. You can give the Engineer all sorts of cool weapons like grenade launching blunderbuss, Hockland long rifle, repeater handgun, repeater pistols. You can even give him pigeon bombs, which I have used and they are actually a ton of fun. They don't come with any armor, but you can give them light armor for 3 points, although I wouldn't bother. And you can even give them magical items up to 50 points, but again, I wouldn't bother. The reason why you are taking an Engineer, especially with a volley gun, is the Master of Ballistics special rule. How this rule works is unless this model is fleeing or engaged in combat, once per turn, a friendly Empire war machine that is within its command range can either use this model's ballistic skill characteristic or reroll a single artillery dice. Now, on the surface, this seems like a nice way of just stopping your Helblaster from misfiring. It reduces the chance of you getting that -1 to hit, just makes it feel like the gun's much more reliable. But when you deep dive into this, you realize how bonkers this buff can be. Let's consider the following hypothetical scenario. You fire your Helblaster, you roll your 3 artillery dice, and let's say you get an average of 6 shots per dice. Maybe you get a 4 on the first one, an 8 on the second one, but then on the third one, you roll a misfire. If you don't have an engineer, what happens is you get 12 shots, which are -1 to hit, and let's say you're at long range, that's another -1. That's 12 shots hitting on 6s. Doesn't feel very good. It's okay, but it's nothing really to write home about. But now we apply our engineer, and we re-roll that misfire, and we're fortunate enough that we re-roll it into a number of shots. Let's say we get another average of 6. Well, suddenly we've not only avoided a -1 to hit modifier, but we've also directly increased our shot output, going from 12 to 18 shots. And we're not at -1 to hit anymore, so we only have to worry about long range. So we've gone from maybe getting 2 hits to on average getting 6 hits. That is a phenomenal increase, not only in the volume of shots, but also in the volume of hits that we've been able to achieve. And that's all thanks to a cheeky 45-point character. But wait, there's more! Because this goes from crazy to downright broken when you consider what happens if you don't roll a misfire. Let's say you are in the fortunate position where you roll your Helblaster volley gun's 3 artillery dice to work out how many shots it's got, and you get an average of 6 on each dice and no misfires are rolled. Now, when you have your engineer nearby, don't worry, he's not wasted, he's not doing nothing for a turn. You get to use the other part of the Master of Ballistics rule, because it says you can use either this model's ballistic skill characteristic or reroll a single artillery dice. Well, okay, if you look at the Helblaster volley gun rule, it says when shooting a Helblaster volley gun, roll 3 artillery dice before making any to hit rolls. You have to do this to determine the number of shots. So once you've determined the number of shots, you can then use the engineer's Master of Ballistics to then use his ballistic skill. Now we're shooting at ballistic skill 4. So now we are shooting our average of 18 shots. Even at long range, we're hitting on 4s. So we're getting 9 hits. And if we're in half range, we're getting 12 hits with the Helblaster volley gun. At strength 5, AP -1, armor bane 2. It doesn't matter whether you are a horde of small gribblies or a big horrible monster or dragon. No one, I'm going to say it again, no one wants to get hit by that kind of firepower in Old World. I can personally attest to my Helblaster volley gun blowing away everything from goblins and skaven all the way up to chariots, cavalry, and even big monsters like Ragnarok spiders, giants, and hell pit abominations. But do you want to know something else? Something truly terrifying and beautiful in equal parts? You're not limited to one Helblaster. In a 2,000 point game, you can easily take 2 of these things in your army with 2 engineers. And in fact, that's only going to come to 330 points. It's barely a drop in the bucket. You're not even using your entire rare allocation. You will still have over 1,600 points left over for all the characters, core, and special that you want. But don't take my word for it. Look at some of the recent tournament stats that have been coming out for Empire. After struggling at the beginning of Old World, because everyone was taking more traditional Empire armies with like infantry in them, the meta for the Empire has completely pivoted to Boomtown, completely pivoted to the Empire artillery train. And we recently saw an Empire army win a large old world GT, and it was running double volley gun and a lot of other Empire guns as well. No word of a lie, this Empire artillery train, a huge part of which is the Helblaster, is beginning to not only shape the Empire meta, but it's beginning to have an influence on the wider meta in general. When we're seeing people talking about Old World and we see them talking about preparing for tournaments, it's no longer just a case of how can I handle like a dragon? How can I handle X? How can I handle Y? It's now included in that is how can I handle the Empire gun line? Do I have the mobility or the spells or some other factor in my list that will allow me to be able to go into that much firepower and come out the other side with a meaningful big score that will allow me to stay in contention for winning the tournament? I guess it's true what they say. There are three things that make the Empire great: faith, steel, and certainly in this case, gunpowder. So in conclusion, bringing everything together, the Helblaster volley gun on its own is a cheap war machine with the potential for a lot of firepower. You combine that with an engineer and its reliability, volume of shots and accuracy goes through the roof. And if you double down on them, you can take a very competitive meta Empire army. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think the Helblaster volley gun is broken, or is it just the only way that Empire have to compete right now? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.